This is a special edition of the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise podcast with your host, Dr. William T. Choctaw. I'm Jesse Hammonds, the CPO and CTO. That's Chief Technical Officer and Chief Production Officer. What I wanted to do was just actually look back a little bit for a little while, because I know that you want to get to your New Year's celebration, depending on when you're listening to this, of course. But it's been a fantastic voyage, to use the phrase by the famous Greek philosophers lakeside of Dayton, Ohio. A very fantastic voyage for the doctor and I, kicking things off in January. We dropped an episode dealing with obesity, and boy, we weren't impressed with it, but it was something that was published and actually well received by those that could get through it. So what we decided to do as the year progressed was to remix that and redo it. And so what came of that was actually the highest downloaded episode for 2023. And that was Obesity, Fact or Fiction. That was back in April that we produced that. And let's see, 2,035 downloads and still going there. That's one thing about the podcast, or episodes, I should say, of a podcast. They are virtually evergreen. People might go online and start to Google what they have thoughts when they're trying to find out some information, and so they'll key in a keyword here or key phrase or something, and depending on how you're filtering everything on Google, in the case of all, everything related to that keyword will come up. That includes videos and still photos and commentary information, that sort of thing, and podcasts, which is a combination of all of that, because these days podcasts actually, you get the audio and you can get the transcript. And yes, there's also video. In fact, you might even see this one. At any rate, Obesity, Fact or Fiction, 2,035 downloads back in April. And again, that was a remix of an episode of January. And then in May, we had Healthcare's Quality Revolution. That's another aspect of the relationship that Dr. Choctaw and I have. We meet in a number of different tangents there, a number of different levels. And one of them is on total quality. He's a guru himself, and I was involved with it as well in the Air Force, as well as at AT&T. And that episode was well received back in May. 1,998 downloads it received. And then that was followed by, in June, with AI chatbots revolutionizing healthcare. Yes. As a matter of fact, I think they've got, one of the main tools in the healthcare industry, particularly in the surgery room, in surgery, is the Da Vinci. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't write that down, but I believe it was the Da Vinci. And it's a machine that the surgeons use to go farther than they've ever gone, inside of a person there, using very precise tools. And it's just amazing of what that particular tool can do. And you couple that with artificial intelligence, and then you've really got something. Now, as in that podcast there, and I invite you to listen to it, the doctor did allude to the fact that we're not quite at the point of AI taking over surgery or anything like that, because there's a lot involved with that, legal stuff and other ethical stuff, quite frankly. but it is a great tool, AI and healthcare, a great match, as it is in many other industries. As we go forward, we'll be discovering a whole lot more of what AI can do, and hopefully for the good, because there's some bad guys out there, and they'll be looking to try to see what else it can do. But hopefully we'll have good enough guardrails that AI will be the blessing that I believe that it can be. Anyway, that was back in June. Then we have at least one special mention for June. June also marked for the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise podcast with Dr. William T. Choctaw. It marked the beginning of, we added a format, the interview format. And the first person that we interviewed was a brother from my church, Brother James. His episode was Empowering Men to Conquer Prostate Cancer and Prioritizing Health. That's a mouthful. However, it is very key and very important. I invite you to listen to that particular podcast as well. And again, it was our first interview, and it was a great interview with a great brother. Let me see if I can bring that up real quick, because I didn't get his numbers, but I think they were pretty good numbers. Let's go to, you can't see what I'm doing here, or maybe you can. I'm just looking at some data. Let's see, let's go back to June real quick. Okay, yeah, that received 1,280 downloads. That's pretty good. And it's still going strong. Again, podcasts, like books, are evergreen. The difference being, I guess the key difference is podcasts are something that's more accessible than books. Because books, you have to actually either order it online and wait for it to come in, or go to the library or some other facility to read it. But with a podcast, all you have to do is subscribe. Just subscribe to whatever it is, be it the whole podcast or a particular episode, and it's right there at your fingertips. Right there. So I encourage you to do that. And then that brings us to my birthday month and my wedding anniversary month, July. Let's see, what do we have here? The Hidden Truths of Diabetes and Obesity. And it was an interplay with Dr. William Choctaw, as it's listed in the titles. And that came in at 1,054 downloads. And it was pretty popular. We had, I believe we had a master class on that particular weekend, and we had some people in from out of town. They posed some great questions, and a couple members from the church were there as well. And I think, as it says in the intro there, you've got questions, he's got answers. Dr. Choctaw, I mean, he's just a great guy with a wealth of experience, over 50 years as a surgeon. And he's been alive, obviously, a lot longer than that, but he's got over 50 years as a surgeon in dealing with various people in various situations. He was also mayor of Walnut, California, and he had to deal with diverse situations there. Anywho, I digress. A special mention, excuse me, in July, and please forgive me as I take a swig of water here. They say you're supposed to drink warm water instead of cold water, but that's what I had here. Kind of getting over a regular cold and flu that the babies gave me. So I'm trying to keep the whistle wet as possible there. Anyway, the special mention in July, for the month of July, was an episode that featured the doctor's mother, Amanda. How my mother's love propelled me to become a surgeon, coming in at 884 downloads there. A very special episode. I invite you to check that out. Let's see. And again, that's thwwp.com. You go there, one-stop shop. And you can, download, you can read blogs, you can download some books by the doctor and by Brother Bernie Brown, of which I'll mention a little bit here. But it's all in one place, thwwp.com. Now, moving on to August. Unlocking the Secrets of Longevity was the top episode of that month, coming in at 682 downloads. And we have we have 4 special mentions for August. One of them was our second interviewee. That would be with Brother Richard Nichols, coming in at 630 downloads. Thank you, Brother Richard. A great episode. You want to check that out as well. And then, not to be outdone, in fact, he preceded Richard, was Master Vincent. That's right. That young brother is going to do big things, big things for him and his family. I know that his grandfather, Dr. Choctaw, is very proud of him. His episode was young athletes at risk, I should say. The reality of sudden cardiac arrest in sports. Let's see. Was that his? Was that his? I think that was his. I have to check that. I think that was his, because I know around that time there was a lot of things going on medically speaking in sports, especially as it pertained to young athletes. I believe that was around the time that Bronny James had his episode up there at USC. And so I'll check that, and I'll come back and I'll correct that if possible there. But I wanted to give a special mention to Brother Vincent for taking the time out to interview and share his perspective on sports, on life itself in general. And it was a great episode. I know that the whole family is very proud of him. I believe he is going to, I think he's been accepted at one of Southern California's great universities. And we're looking for great things from him. I can't say enough. I was very impressed by him. Anywho, let's see, another special mention there. Oh, Brother Katron coming in again. He followed up on his earlier episode dealing with prostate with Embracing Faith Amidst Prostate Cancer, a journey with James Katron and lessons on healthcare communication. And he was very passionate about the fact that men in general, or specifically, need to really step it up as far as, taking care and talking about their health, not just to themselves, but with somebody else, specifically a healthcare professional, and to make sure that they're good to go. Many men are leading families, and it's very important for us to be as healthy as possible. But he was able to take care of a very, very heavy situation with the prostate cancer just in time. And that did not happen by not engaging someone and communicating with someone that could help and provide help and analysis and all of that. So he came in to follow up on his first podcast, and we thank him for that, Mr. James. And let's see here. The other special mention is who? Oh, we got into, well, we were in kind of a post COVID-19 period of time there, if you will. Although COVID, like other viruses, will continue to, evolve into whatever the next strand is. And the good doctor dipped back into it with an episode of navigating COVID-19, unraveling variants, boosters, and the CDC. That checked in, it had 366 downloads. Oh, by the way, Brother Catron's episode checked in at 363, and Brother Vincent's at 357. And that was in the month of August. Moving on to September, that's when we went legal, so to speak. Brother Bernie Brown, Esquire, former prosecutor for the city of Los Angeles out here in California. And for those of you listening to us overseas, that's in the United States, West Coast. And he produced the first back-to-back episodes, as a matter of fact. Get those up on the screen here so that you will know. I mean, I do want you to go to the website and just check it out, but I also want to, inform you as best as possible so you'll know what you're looking for. Let's see here. Bernie Brown's Path to Success, Conquering the Ghetto and Beyond. That came in at 232 downloads and still going because it's only 4 months old. And then he followed that up with Decoding the Supernatural, a prosecutor's analytical take on spiritual phenomena. And that was a very popular, still popular episode there, coming in at 320 downloads. And you'll definitely want to check both of them out, but definitely that one, because he gets into it. He, just as the title indicates there, he comes in it, he approaches it as a prosecutor, and he's won many, many cases. I think he's like, 99%, Brother Bernie, of wins. So he knows what he's talking about. He knows how to attack these issues there and to determine whether or not they're fact or fiction. Is it enough evidence there to prove beyond reasonable doubt that it is a fact, that it actually happened or not? Check out the episode. You won't be disappointed. Okay, let's switch up here, and okay, there we are. That brings us to October. Another COVID-19 type of update. It took the center stage again with the Wellness Leadership episode, and that came in at 110 downloads and counting. Again, COVID is still here. It's still here, and you still need to be informed. And you can check out this episode and other previous episodes at thwwp.com. That is the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise podcast. And let's see here. Okay, that brings us to November. November marked the entrance of our first interview of someone in ministry. And that came in the form of a Reverend John B. Nickens in the Symphony of Life. That was back in November. We've got 226 downloads on it right now. And again, it's still, going strong. It's evergreen. So you can check that out there to be inspired and be encouraged. No matter what your beginnings were, he is an example of what you can become. He and others like him, as a matter of fact. So that brings us up to December. Let's see, we started off with a star. star of HWWPG, none other than Sister Lorena's journey to public service, leading the way on a new pod host platform. We made a transition in November from one podcasting platform to another. I won't mention any names or anything like that because I don't want to, sound like I'm throwing anything or anyone up under the bridge as far as the platforms go. It was a good change, and I believe the doctor agrees with that. It was something that just an opportunity presented itself, and we took the opportunity. The podcast was growing, it's still growing, and we needed to transition to another platform there to help facilitate that growth. But at any rate, Sister Lorena's coming in at 197 downloads, and that's on the new platform there. And that's outstanding because it's still going strong. It's still going strong and leading the way of the 10 episodes published on the new platform. And of the 10, she's still number one, or she is number one. And so thank you, Sister Choctaw. We appreciate that. Let's see here. We got some special mentions here. A special mention going out to Pastor Dockery. This is in December. We had a lot of action going on in December. And Pastor Dr. Anthony L. Dockery, his episode was on teachability, inclusion, and finding common ground, which are the military values for ministry. A great episode, a seasoned veteran of the military, a fellow Air Force alumni like myself, and a seasoned man of God in the ministry. You will be inspired and encouraged from that episode. So I invite you to go to the thwwp.com and download it. You won't be sorry. And let's see here. Oh, yeah. Little old me stopped in for an episode, basically, or kind of sort of to continue what the good Dr. Dockery started with as relates to transferable skills and parallels between the military, in his case, ministry, in my case, I guess, lay ministry, if you will, if that's a word, I believe it is. But it was great. It was great. As a matter of fact, in my episode, I tagged it at the end to stay tuned for part 2 and 3 and 4 or whatever. There's more. There's a whole lot more in store. So please come on back. And let's see here. One of the last episodes poetically of 2023 just dropped a couple days ago. And that was on sleep, and that we're putting 2023 to sleep so that it can, process the events of the past year, which is one of the tenets of sleep. It's processing things that has happened that particular day, and perhaps even before then, and hopefully equipping the individual, or in this case, we're using the year as a metaphor, equipping them to move forward in the next day or in the next year as we relate to 2023. Are you following me? Hopefully so. At any rate, that, and what is the other tenet of sleep? Restoration of energy. Yes, the restoration of energy. So that's processing of that day's events to equip a person to be ready to move forward the next day, as well as the restoration of energy, because the whole total body goes through a whole lot during the day. And in regards to 2023, a whole lot has happened in 2023. So it needs all of that sleep. It'll only be for a few seconds, of course, because at the stroke of midnight, it will be 2024 and 2023 is out the door. So it'll need to be full strength, because what do we have coming up? Yes, the general election. And it's already been underway, and it's anybody's guess what the outcome will be. But hey, let's all pray together and stay together so that we can get through that as well. Now, we're going to wrap things up here with some shout outs. First, giving an honor to God, who directs my path and orders my steps, provides me with wisdom and strength to just continue to go and do and be. To my wife, the Queen, Latasha, doing what we do, the doctor and I, which is to produce quality content to help equip and empower our listeners with the tools and guidance to live a healthy, wealthy, and wise life. It all takes time. And so she provides that sacrificial support that without I wouldn't be able to pursue the things that I do. And so, babe, I really do appreciate that. And you, I love you, and God bless you. And I say that for 2023 as well as ahead of time in 2024. Who do we have here? My mother-in-law, Sister Clotilde Jones. Man, she is a diehard supporter as well, both online and offline. She does a lot of work around the church, and she's up there on many Saturdays doing that work. And every second Saturday of the month, we conduct what's called a leadership masterclass. And she's always in attendance online, usually. And that's great. I mean, that type of support, that's love right there. And we really do appreciate that love. I really do appreciate that love. So a big shout out to my mother-in-law supporting me and the doctor and the podcast itself, as well as the Leadership Masterclass. Okay, shout outs to the interviewees. I mentioned a few of them. I'll just read through the list real quick here. James Catron, Daryl Nichols, Bernie Brown, Master Vincent. I won't mention his last name, of course, out of respect for his parents and his granddad and mom, because he's a minor. But he was our first Gen Z interviewee, and what a powerful episode that was. So be sure to check that out. Also, a shout out to our pastor, as I formerly mentioned there, Dr. Anthony L. Dockery, for his prayers and direct support of the Leadership Masterclass, which spawned the podcast, and he supported and supports both. In fact, while we're there on that particular angle, a special shout out to Brother Leo Stella, who provided valuable consulting when we really needed it, which was back at the beginning, as a matter of fact. Also, shout out to the Queen of the Choctaw Dream Team, Sister Lorena. Words can't express my gratitude for your prayers, insight, your guidance, and efforts, and relentless support of what the doctor and I try to do and try to produce for him. I think he records 2 to 3 times a week, and then it's once a month on the Leadership Masterclass, and she's there. And then he spends many hours with me in post-production there. So, Sister Choctaw, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. Let's see here. And last, but certainly not least, is the great Dr. William T. Choctaw himself. Shout out to you, sir. He is a pioneer, an actual living legend. He is, yes. And comparatively, he's part of a very elite group of medical professionals, a trailblazer in politics as well. As I mentioned, he was a former mayor of Walnut, California, as a matter of fact, out here on the West Coast. He's a prolific writer and speaker. It's been a real, sincere honor, sir. Plus, I recognize the fact that you're also a great man of God. What a package. And what a privilege and honor it was for me to work with a person on that level. Let's do it again in 2024. Okay? All right. That's it for this last episode of 2023. Feel free to, well, in fact, I encourage you to check out the episodes mentioned in this episode and those that weren't, because we've recorded, I think, 40, for the year. And you can go to thwwp.com and you've got them all. All right. Plus, you can check out blogs, download books by the good doctor himself, as well as a book by Bernie Brown, Esquire. Plus, you can become a valued patron of the podcast. And that's all at thwwp.com. You've been listening to a special edition of the Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise podcast with Dr. William T. Choctaw, MD, JD. The last call of 2023. Happy New Year 2024 to one and all, and God bless.